I used to believe that office politics were exaggerated in movies, something cooked up for drama in shows like Suits. Turns out, real life is quieter and far more dangerous. My name's Daniel. I work in a mid-sized marketing firm in Chicago. Nothing glamorous, just long hours, too much coffee, and deadlines that breathe down your neck. For 3 years, I kept my head down and did my job. Then Emma transferred to our department. Emma was sharp, confident, the kind of person who didn't just enter a room, she shifted it. Within a month, she'd memorized every client's preferences and every weakness in our current strategy. I admired that, maybe more than I should have. Then there was Ryan. Ryan had been my closest friend at work since my first week. We'd grab beers on Fridays, complain about management, laugh about impossible client demands. He was ambitious, sure. I just thought we were running in the same direction. When our boss, Mr. Thompson, announced that a new senior strategist position was opening up, the air in the room changed. It felt like someone had quietly lit a fuse. I didn't think much of it at first. I figured Ryan would go for it. Emma definitely would. I told myself I was content where I was. That was the first lie. A few days later, Emma asked me to grab lunch. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, sunlight catching in her hair. She leaned in and lowered her voice. "I need someone I can trust," she said. "Someone who's not playing games." The implication hung between us. She told me she'd noticed inconsistencies in Ryan's recent proposals, ideas that felt strangely familiar, ideas I had casually mentioned during late-night brainstorming sessions. Ryan wouldn't do that. She didn't argue. She just looked at me with a kind of sympathy that made my stomach tighten. That night, I opened my old drafts. Word for word, sections of my strategy outline had appeared in Ryan's presentation from earlier that week. I told myself it was coincidence. That was the second lie. I confronted Ryan 2 days later. He didn't deny it. "Dan," he said, rubbing his temples, "this is how it works. You think Thompson doesn't know? He rewards results, not credit lines." "So you stole from me?" "I refined your ideas," he replied calmly, "and you were never going to use them." His certainty hurt more than the betrayal. But here's where things became complicated. Later that evening, Emma stopped by my desk. She'd heard about the confrontation. News traveled fast. "I told you," she said gently. "You deserve better." Then she handed me a flash drive. "I think you should see this." Inside were internal emails between Ryan and Mr. Thompson. Not just about my ideas, but about Emma. They were planning to pit us against each other, feeding each of us selective information, encouraging rivalry. The senior strategist role had likely already been promised to Ryan months ago. The competition was just motivation theater. I felt stupid, used. But what unsettled me most was the timestamp on the forwarded emails. They had been sent to Emma weeks ago. "Why didn't you show me this before?" I asked. She hesitated. "I needed to know where you stood." That's when I realized something chilling. Emma hadn't warned me out of kindness. She had been studying me. The following Monday, I did something none of them expected. I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Thompson and HR. Not to accuse, not to complain. I resigned. The room went silent. "You're making a mistake," Thompson said flatly. "Maybe," I replied, "but at least it'll be my mistake." I'd spent weeks feeling manipulated by Ryan's ambition, by Emma's calculated sympathy, by management's invisible strings. The job I thought I wanted had turned into a stage where everyone was acting. As I packed my things, Ryan approached me. "You're really walking away?" "Yeah." He looked shaken, not victorious, just uncertain. Emma didn't come to say goodbye. 3 months later, I was working for a smaller firm. Less pay, Fewer titles, more transparency. One evening, I got a message from an old coworker. Ryan hadn't gotten the promotion after all. Corporate restructuring. The position was cut entirely. Emma had transferred again, to another department, another opportunity. The rivalry had dissolved into nothing, and I realized something that took me too long to understand. The real battle had never been for a job. It was for control. Ryan believed success meant getting ahead, no matter the cost. Emma believed power came from positioning people like chess pieces, and I believed loyalty would protect me from both. All three of us were wrong in different ways. I don't hate them. In some strange way, I'm grateful. They forced me to see who I was becoming, someone reactive, suspicious, constantly looking over his shoulder. Now, when I meet ambitious people, I don't assume they're enemies, but I don't hand them my playbook either. Because here's what I learned. Ambition without integrity turns friends into tools. Charm without honesty turns trust into leverage. And staying in a toxic game, even if you're winning, still means you're playing by broken rules. Moral: if success requires you to betray your values or yourself, it isn't success.